If you find yourself spending a lot of time doing everyday tasks that somebody else could jump in for you and free you up to do the things that you are more qualified to do, or you are uniquely qualified to do. So, for example, if I was going to address the 8,000 emails, then I would have never had time to meet with partners, to reach out to churches, to support survivors. And that's the work that really I need to be doing. So to have somebody else do some of the things that can be done. I mean, it's wild to me actually to think that our executive assistant, Christy, has never actually been here because she has now helped us do 2 fundraisers and has been part of staff meetings. And so she does feel very much like part of the team. But yeah, I think if you could use another person that could take some of those things off your plate and free you up to do what you are uniquely qualified to do, then you should get an executive assistant.
Christa, thanks for joining me for this conversation. As you know, I'm trying to collect stories and conversations with clients and people that might help other people who are thinking about getting an executive assistant and thinking about what that might do for their life. So I was curious to kind of get your feedback, reactions, stories, whatever, to capture some of those thoughts so it would help us, first of all, improve and be better, and also help someone else as they consider, how would I utilize someone like that? So would you just give a quick introduction of yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm Christa Wiens. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit in Fresno called Central Valley Justice Coalition, where we work to prevent human trafficking in California and beyond.
It's awesome. See, how many times have you said that?
Oh, I couldn't even count.
A million times.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time you talk to someone, you have to give the whole thing. You're like, well,
Just
this is
about.
who I am. This is what I
Yeah,
do.
that's right. We practice the elevator speech.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
And how, you took it over from the founder, correct?
No, there was an
There's a
executive
story.
director in between. They kind of shared the role for a bit, and then he had it and then took it from them. So,
Okay. And that transition, as any transition is in leadership and trying to get things, is not always easy, right?
yeah,
You have a
that's
lot of
correct.
things you've got to figure out. I know you had, you have a partnership with the mission and the city center in Fresno, which is a really cool place. If you don't know about that, you should check it out. And you guys have some space in there that you can utilize, and
Yep.
so that's been a really cool part of what you've been a part of since it started,
Yeah, that's right.
since you took over. But maybe describe some of the leadership challenges you faced moving into this role.
Sure. Yeah. I think my transition was a little bit unique in that I was already part of the organization. I started as part of the team in 2014 with no intention of becoming the executive director. And so in 2022, when it became clear that there was going to be a transition, I was tapped on the shoulder by several different people and said no multiple times. And then God changed my heart, as God does sometimes. And so, all that to say, I had some institutional knowledge that I think probably a lot of brand new executive directors don't have. I'd been around for most of the organization's history. So, the pros of that were that it did make some things a lot easier. The cons are you don't know what you don't know. And so, hopping into this role and recognizing that there's this whole other aspect to the organization that I just never had to know about, to engage with, and suddenly had more questions than I knew I was going to have. So that was a new challenge for me.
Wow. And I think you had there, as always, when there's leadership change, there may be other roles that change and shift and morph and, you
That's
know,
right.
um, restructuring and all that kind of stuff. And so that's never easy. But in the midst of that, you reached out to me and we had a conversation.
Yeah.
Can you tell me kind of what brought you our way?
Yeah, yeah. We when I stepped into this role, we had to make some really hard decisions financially. We're a donor funded organization, and like everybody else, we were feeling the crunch post pandemic. And so it meant that we needed to let some folks go, which was a really hard thing to do. And yet the work doesn't change or decrease just because the funds do. And so I found myself in a real challenge of I don't have the same kind of support that I have. And I'm not really sure what to do about that. And a friend of mine, Whitney Bunker, who runs another organization in town, City Without Orphans, she actually was the one who mentioned you and said, you know, you really should look at getting an executive assistant. I think they could be really beneficial. So yeah, I reached out to you having actually no idea what an executive assistant could do, just kind of desperate for some help. And so, yeah, I think our first conversation was me saying, I don't even know what to ask you because I don't know what this can look like. And so, yeah, I remember those early talks where you were kind of helping paint a picture of some of the options that might be available. That was really helpful.
Yeah. And from those conversations, I mean, so you started with somebody, they've been supporting you for a good while now.
Yeah.
And from those initial conversations to kind of what she's doing for you now, like how has that changed or morphed over time?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, I think there was still a lot of figuring out, like kind of giving her tasks, right? To kind of figure out what can we do together? How do we work together? Where her skill sets and mine align and where she can pick up things that I'm not going to be as great at. So I think it took a few months to figure that out and for me to help kind of envision what it could look like. And now this morning, she and I had our weekly conversation. And it was 15 minutes because we just know each other and it was quick. Here are the things. We've got tasks that, you know, she's got a weekly task list that she does. So it was a quick, like, hey, here's what's on my plate. What's on your plate that I can take off of it for you. And, you know, and then I think every week I throw something at her that she wasn't expecting. And so, yeah, it was quick. She knew what I was asking, what I wanted it to look like. She had a few questions, but then was like, all right, I'll reach back out when this is ready and then move from there. So yeah, going from hour-long meetings to 15-minute meetings, just because we get each other now.
That's awesome. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I would not paint the picture that that's normal for people to get down to 15 minutes, but that's
Well,
amazing.
and they're not always, right? I mean, depends
Sure.
on the week, right? But
Right.
yeah.
Right. So that's pretty amazing. So you mentioned she has a regular weekly task list. So there are regular things that she's taking care of, and then there are additional things that you kind of add to that or
That's
projects that you want her to work on. So you have both sort of regular responsibilities and then also irregular or seasonal things as
yeah,
well.
yeah, that's right.
Give me an example of some of the things that she's doing on a regular basis.
She is monitoring our primary email account, which is a tremendous help because when she first came on, we had 8,000 emails in there.
Wait a second.
Yeah, it's true.
Wait a second. Like that can't, but a lot of that's like trash, right? Or a lot of
Yeah.
it's
Oh, a ton of
junk,
it's
or,
trash. A ton of it's trash.
like,
Yeah. It was
you know,
not that we weren't responding to anybody. It was just that the ones that you don't need to respond just didn't ever get addressed. So yeah.
yeah,
So for her now to be checking it on the regular and forwarding the things that need to be addressed and deleting the things that nobody needs, that's a huge help.
right.
It takes a lot more time than most people recognize. She does a lot of donor management for us as well. So she's got every week, she's tracking who donated, when was the last time they were thanked, how were they thanked, so that we're kind of rotating whether we get an email or a phone call or a card. And then she's got a communications calendar so that she sends out emails and newsletters and social media, kind of trying to tackle all the different formats there. And so some of those are things that she just can do, and others she gives me a nudge. Hey, it's, this week we said we were going to do this. And so, let me know if you need me to do something. But a lot of times it's a nudge that I need.
Yeah. No, I get it. I got two assistants that serve me, and we have a meeting on Mondays. And then there's lots of things that I have out there in this idea brainstorm
Uh-huh.
cloud that we've
Uh-huh.
talked about. And one of them in particular is always like, okay, you talked about you wanted to do this. In order to do that, you need to take action on this. I'm like, dang it, Camille.
That's right.
You're right.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about this forever unless I do that thing that you're
That's,
waiting on me to do. So
yep.
it's really
That's
helpful
exactly right.
to have those prompts as well. So what are some examples maybe of the irregular things you might have her be doing?
Yeah. Well, she just got our Christmas cards, designed, ordered. She got them set for pickup here. We have a volunteer that stuffs and puts postage and everything. And so she coordinates with the volunteer, say, hey, it's ready for pickup. Yeah, so that was just recent. And then we're heading into the new year. So she is also taking some time right now to look through all of our donors and merge some of those. Anyone who does nonprofit, I think, faces this, where one time you donated as Micah Foster, and then the next time you donated as Micah and your wife Foster, right? So now we have to make sure that everybody is merged so that we can get the households together. So she's taking some time to do that for us right now.
It's really, having been a pastor, church planner, worked in churches, like having to deal with that stuff a lot. I remember one particular instance where a couple, they donate together on the regular, and then like they did an end of year gift, but they did them separately.
Oh,
And so I like put them all on the same, donor receipt, thank you letter for tax purposes. And I got to tell you, they were so upset that I didn't send separate ones for those separate donations. They were like,
how
how dare
interesting.
you put them together? I gave from this account. She gave from that account. That's not our money. That's our money. And we need separate. I was like,
Okay.
I was not meant to be any sort of thing. I was just trying to make it easy for you. And it was like, I made it a big, so that's rare, but
Yeah.
man, when
No.
those things happen, it's like, oh my gosh, what I'm so
Oops.
sorry. I did,
Yeah. No,
whoops, I'll make a note of that for next time, but
that's right.
okay, got
Yep.
it. Apologies.
Ours is usually the opposite, where somebody says, "Oh, I got a receipt, but this donation was missing," and then we say, "Well, the second receipt came too. Did you find that? Because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
donated in different ways."
And that one was your business name. And so
Yeah,
now it's totally
that's
different.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. That's amazing. Well,
Mhm.
what kinds of suggestions would you give to people who are thinking about, getting an executive assistant themselves? Or what do you think would be some cues that would be helpful for them?
A cue that it would be helpful for them. If you find yourself spending a lot of time doing everyday tasks that somebody else could jump in for you and free you up to do the things that you are more qualified to do, or you are uniquely qualified to do. So, for example, if I was going to address the 8,000 emails, then I would have never had time to meet with partners, to reach out to churches, to support survivors. And that's the work that really I need to be doing. So to have somebody else do some of the things that can be done. I mean, it's wild to me actually to think that our executive assistant, Christy, has never actually been here because she has now helped us do 2 fundraisers and has been part of staff meetings. And so she does feel very much like part of the team. But yeah, I think if you could use another person that could take some of those things off your plate and free you up to do what you are uniquely qualified to do, then you should get an executive assistant.
Just out of curiosity, if you were to, if Christy was in person, right,
Mhm.
and you went to have your meeting, how long do you think that meeting would be?
That's a great question. Probably an hour, like today's meeting,
Yeah.
because we would have met at coffee. We would have
Right.
had a conversation. I really like her, so that
Right.
we would have heard about the kids and do the catch
Yeah.
up and all that thing. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And sometimes I should say I'm a relational person.
Yeah.
I do know about her kids. We do get to know each other.
Yes.
Some days, she's my emotional support person too. um, but today, but yeah, if we had
Yeah.
met at a coffee shop and tried to do that, or even met here in the office, it would have been a 45-minute to an hour conversation just because of all the niceties. Right?
Right. And not that that's bad or anything
No,
like that. That's great. But
that's
there are
right.
times when like it's really busy and it's really helpful to have a short conversation.
Yeah. And
Get the ball moving.
it's a different expectation, right? So that's a nice part of it. Um, People expect you to do something in person differently. And because we have these regular check-ins, yeah, it's nice to feel like I'm not letting somebody down by keeping it short.
Oh, that's great. Well, I would love to honor that same kind of, you know, expectation for this. I really appreciate you having this quick conversation with me. I think it'd be helpful for others who are thinking about and anticipating maybe in the new year, trying to get some extra help that's maybe not in their office, but they really need some administrative help. And I really want to thank you for being a partner with us in this, and so glad that we get to be a part of what you do through this in other ways. Um, and if there's anything more we can do for you, please let us know. And thank you for sending us other people as
Yeah.
referrals as well. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you, Micah. I'm really glad that I got pointed your direction and really grateful for Christy and her role in our team. So thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I know
Likewise,
we'll be chatting again soon.
for sure. All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Micah.
Krista. Bye.
Bye bye.